everybody. Welcome back to a brand new year, 2020, and a brand new episode of the Retro or Die podcast. I'm your host, Forrest, and today we're going to take it easy. We're going to settle back into this whole podcasting venture. I said in the year 2020 I was going to make a lot of changes when it came to how hard I was going to work on my internet ventures. That being stuff on YouTube, that being the podcasting, and among other things. Aside from this podcast, I'm also working on another podcast that will be coming out very soon. That's still being worked out. And as far as that goes, let's jump into it. Christmas was great. I am not a huge fan of going out and having to do a lot of things on Christmas or any holiday in general. I'm the kind of person that likes to, when I'm off work, I like to take it easy. I like to stay home. I like to relax. I like to play video games, and I like to drink. Those are the things that I enjoy. Those are the things that make a holiday for me. But this year, I decided to do more family-oriented things. Visited family, in-laws, all that kind of stuff. Did that. And then New Year's, I pretty much did the same exact thing. I did the complete opposite of what I normally do, and tried to be more family-oriented this year, more than I've been in the past few years. And I don't know if that's just because I'm settling down more, if I'm getting older. I don't know what it is, where I kind of just go with the flow a little more than just wanting to hermitize myself in my office and just play video games or make YouTube videos. Speaking of YouTube videos, let's talk about YouTube in 2020. So if you're not familiar, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Retro or Die. Same thing as the podcast. I've been creating videos on YouTube since 2013. My original channel name was Game by Night Reviews. That channel was terminated wrongfully by YouTube in the year 2015, I believe, in the beginning of 2015. It was berated by the copyright strike system, and so that channel ended. I made a new one, and been going hard ever since then. A lot less harder now, because YouTube, unfortunately, as I mentioned this before on my YouTube channel, my videos and the quality of my writing and the quality of my shooting and editing and all that stuff around became increasingly better. And unfortunately, the platform YouTube never got better. It actually declined as I got better. And becoming the thing, if someone were to ask me now in the year 2020, do you think I would be able to be successful at YouTube? And the answer is simply no. And the reason why I say that, I'm not saying you shouldn't try. Of course, you can try and do anything that you want in this world. I would always suggest someone trying to do that. But the sad truth is, if you want to be successful on YouTube and you want to create content that you're passionate about, you're probably not going to go anywhere as far as making a living off your YouTube. And the reason why I say that is because the only stuff you see pushed on YouTube nowadays, aside from the outrageous stuff of celebrities taking over YouTube and network television taking over YouTube, that's a whole nother problem in itself. It's not YouTube anymore. It is Celebrity Tube. It is Network Tube. That's what it really should be called. It's Google Tube now. I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of years if it was actually renamed that. But the only stuff that's like really pushed on YouTube to people as far as content goes on the main page and is weird stuff. It's stuff dedicated to kids YouTube, which is a completely different app. When you think of YouTube, there's YouTube and then there's kids YouTube. And if you want to be successful on YouTube, you make content that is being pushed onto kid YouTube. If you want to go out to Walgreens and buy 20 mystery boxes that are made for kids and Kinder eggs and stuff like that, which is like a candy. If you grew up in the 90s, you remember Wonder Ball. It was the chocolate with a little toy inside until some stupid kid choked on the chocolate and they replaced it with candy, or choked on the toy. But anyway, I guess Kinder eggs are this generation's Wonder Ball. Now, if you want to be a freaking, mid 20s, late 30s, 40s, 50s year old man and be creating videos where you're opening stuff that's made for 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds or whatever, and talking about it in a very strange voice, that's how you're going to be successful on YouTube. You look at kids YouTube, and I'm not going to lie to you, it is pretty creepy. It's creepy and it's predatory. Not predatory, I'm not going to go as far as predatory in the sense where it's like guys and weirdos looking for kids. I'm sure that exists, but I'm talking about predatory in the sense where in order to get views, the people will definitely push things that they know kids are addicted to. And a lot of kids have short attention spans these days, so it's all about just opening a box and seeing stuff that's inside. You're not really creating anything, you're just opening something. Now, if that's what you're into because you want to make money, then go for it. I'm not gonna say you're not creepy because it's creepy. It's a creepy thing to do. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's outrageously creepy. Now, as far as me and the way I create videos on YouTube, I understand that what I do on YouTube, reviewing video games from 30 years ago and 20 years ago, is a very niche thing. Reviewing movies from that long ago, VHS tapes, is a very niche thing to do. Podcasts talking about old video games and stuff like that is also a very niche thing. But the thing I can say compared to people that open Kinder eggs for a living on YouTube compared to the content I create, I can actually look back and say I was proud of what I created. I put a lot of time, hard work, effort into these videos, and I can stand by them and say, you know what, I worked really hard on these. And you can see the improvement over time as my YouTube channel progressed. So I can say that at least. And as far as 2020 goes, I'm going to keep on creating videos. They're definitely going to probably be less often than even 2019 was. And that's the simple fact because YouTube is still punishing those who create videos using licensed content, even if you do it within the fair use law of America. And that being if you use clips from video games, clips from movies that have certain music in it, clips from video games that have certain music in it, or just people claiming your videos because they don't like you for some reason. YouTube does not look after you as a small independent creator. And as far as I know, it also doesn't look out for those that made YouTube basically what it is, besides the small creators. And we're talking about the people that are huge, like PewDiePie. PewDiePie's had many problems on YouTube, and that's all been out there. But as far as I know, Google itself does not cater to people that are making videos on the platform, unless you're a celebrity or something like that. So knowing this, the realistic expectation of YouTube for me is, if I make less than 10 videos this year, but I keep it above 6, you know what, I'm happy with that. I can live with that. My aspirations are where I want to go in life with video creation, and content creation on the internet has grown so much more and surpassed what I would want to do on YouTube. YouTube was a very good stepping stone. I cut my teeth on YouTube. I learned a lot by creating things on YouTube. And I grew a fan base from being open and honest about the things that I was passionate about on this platform. So for that, I'm grateful. But as far as how YouTube has been over the last 6 going on 7 years now that I've been on the platform, uh, the time to be creating content like I was doing before, that time has come and gone. And that's just the sad reality. If you look at anyone that's in the same kind of genre that I am, uh, I would think you could look and see that it's going the same way. YouTube is just not what it was. It's never going to be what it was before, and until there is a competitor out there that can take YouTube on, I mean, you're probably going to see less and less from your content creators that you like, just because that YouTube uh, punishes you for creating something, which is not how it used to be. But unfortunately, it is now. So that's the reality of YouTube. Oh, it's a sad thing, but it's true. I mean, you look at my favorite content creators that I watch barely put videos out anymore because they're trying to pursue other things. I don't blame anyone for that because, like I said, it's just not in your best interest to be spending a lot of time on a platform that does not support you as an independent creator. Uh, the saying is, like, you do something once and get fucked, oops. If you do it 100 times, you're crazy, or something like that, because you keep getting the same result and the same outcome. I can't tell you how many times YouTube changes their rules and their algorithms and doesn't tell anyone, and purges subscribers and unsubscribes people from your feed on your YouTube, or blacklists your video because you said the F word. I mean, that's all stuff that is out of anyone's control, but yet YouTube denies that they do it. But as far as data miners are concerned, and everyone that actually knows how to find this stuff out, it comes out that yes, they do in fact do this. Ex-employees of YouTube have come out and on Reddit and post things about how that stuff actually happens on YouTube, whether it's to push a political view or to stifle someone's political view, or whatever you're talking about. If YouTube woke up on the wrong side of bed that day and they decide, you know what, they don't like your channel anymore, it's gone, and you have no idea why. So that's why I've tried to upload my stuff, my videos, onto other platforms as much as possible. In case something like that ever happens, there's that thing there for them to fall back on and find it. Um, so yeah, that's YouTube in 2020. Not a bright outlook for YouTube, but it's a bright outlook for me, because I'm going forward in pursuing other things now that are going to be on the internet, pushing forward of things that I'm still passionate about, but just not as much on the YouTube platform. So in 2020, yeah, I'm going to be focusing on podcasting, writing, and other things of that nature. Another thing I would like to talk about that's a change of pace. I've mentioned it on previous podcasts before, and I think I've even talked about it in a couple YouTube videos when I used to do live stream hangouts when Google Plus was still a thing for a while. Was the God of War game from 2018. Now, when this game first came out, I was very skeptical about what it was. I did not like the fact that Kratos was running around with a kid that was his son in the game. And if you're not familiar with God of War, I'm going to tell you really fast, like a quick breakdown of what the games are. Your main character, Kratos, is a son of Zeus. He doesn't know this until the second game, but he was a general in the Spartan army. He kills his wife and family because the god Ares, the god of war at that time, tricks him as he's in service for him and has him kill his family. He wears his family's ashes from their burnt bodies on his body. That's why he looks the way he does. He is the ghost of Sparta from then on. He ends up killing Ares, becoming the new god of war. The gods won't take his visions of all the past bad deeds he did out of his mind, including killing his family, so he goes on a rampage. The gods betray him. Zeus kills him. He comes back from the dead, kills the Sisters of Fate, finally kills the entire Greek pantheon of gods, and that's where God of War 3 ends. I know it's a very, very, very short description of what happens in all three games. Of course, there's a lot more that goes on in there, but this isn't an episode about God of War. This is just a short, brief thing about God of War 4. Even though it's not called God of War 4, which for some reason I think is a very strange thing. I hate it when video game companies decide to reboot a franchise, even though it's not a reboot. It is God of War 4, but they don't call it that. They just call it God of War, and it's confusing because it's almost like they want to erase the first game in some way, because the first game's the same title. It's weird when companies do that. I'm not a fan of it. But when this game came out, I was very skeptical. Not only because I hate video games where you have to do companion filled missions throughout the game and having to worry about another AI character running around and taking care of them and healing them, and they might get in your way and you might kill them and fail missions because of it. I'm not a fan of it. So when I saw that, I thought it was extremely annoying. When I first played it when it came out, I was very, very critical of the game because I was not open to the fact that they had changed the game's dynamics so drastically to where it's God of War because Kratos is in it. That's where my mind was. I was like, okay, so the game is just God of War because Kratos is in it now. It's almost like in Resident Evil 7, it's really an Evil Dead game, but they just slapped Resident Evil 7's name on it, and somehow it's Resident Evil, when it's not. That was my mindset back then in 2018 when I first played it. The combat system had was completely vamped. They changed everything about it. Why Kratos somehow survived the events that ended in God of War 3 and found himself in this new land having to do with Norse mythology, and was very confusing. How he got a new family was very confusing. Why he would take a new family, I thought, was just a strange way to go with the character. Being such a hardcore fan and playing all the games multiple times, it was a very confusing thing because the Kratos that I knew from God of War 1 through 3 wouldn't do something like that. Now that I've played this new one and I'm about 45 hours into the game, I can understand that why he went that way. The story was written in such a way where I guess you're not supposed to get all the answers right away, which is fine. Another thing that was changed is that this game was more reliant on RPG elements than ever before. And what I mean by that was finding equipment, going on these RPG side quests to find equipment and upgrade XP to upgrade Kratos' abilities, and things like that were new things. Not entirely new, but they were new things. In the original 3 games, you just collected orbs and you upgraded your weapons. You found certain relic pieces that may be hidden off on a side, somewhere on a side of a map, hidden somewhere, but you find these pieces and you upgrade Kratos' health bar and his rage meter, and that was the extent of it. The meat and potatoes of God of War 1 through 3 were the battle mechanics and the platforming mechanics and the story. This God of War is definitely heavily focused on RPG elements that you would see in like Skyrim or Elder Scrolls games or Fallout games, where you're grinding to get better equipment, grinding for XP to improve skills. Not just that, runes, which are magical pieces that go into your equipment, and upgrading those. This is all plays. I mean, this game plays very much into my RPG OCD nature, where I need to collect everything, upgrade everything. That's why I'm close to 50 hours into this game, and I think I've played maybe half of the main story. Which, if I wanted to, I could probably beat the main story in like 12 hours if I wanted to. But that's how much grinding I've been doing. Another thing that's changed, and it's one of the biggest flaws about this game, is that there are enemies in this game that are definitely put in here for padding. It's 100% obvious. If you've never played a God of War game before, let me tell you, Kratos is a god. He has killed titans. He has killed the entire Greek pantheon. He has killed monsters that are the size of titans. He killed the Hydra creature. He's gone on a lot of adventures and killed a lot of things that were 100 times bigger than him. And for the first time in this newer game, in the 2018 God of War, there are enemies that have the ability to one-shot kill you. And what I mean by that, there are certain enemies that are outlevel you, which was never a thing in God of War. This could be like a monster that came out of the mud that's half the size of Kratos, wielding a blade made out of a freaking stone, and can kill Kratos in one hit. And the reason for this is because if there wasn't so much padding with these creatures, this game would be a lot shorter. I think it was a very lazy thing to do for this game. I think padding a game because you don't have enough to put in it is not the way to do it. Longer does not necessarily mean better as far as a video game is concerned. Shorter is better in some ways. The Portal game is a very good example when shorter is better. But long games, just because they have this extra amount of padding inside, is ridiculous. Having enemies to be able to kill a god that would not be able to kill him before just doesn't make any sense with the game, and that's why it's frustrating. They purposely did it to take advantage of the fact that they didn't have enough in the game and tried to make it longer. And another thing I thought was weird is why Kratos ended up in Norse mythology, was with Thor and all of them. And this was the time that those Thor movies and those Ragnarok movies and all that, and Marvel's Avengers crap was like super popular. And I feel like, of course there's no concrete evidence of this, but I feel like that was why he ended up there, was because to capitalize on the popularity of those movies. Yeah. But anyway, where am I going with this? My thoughts are on the game is I do like it. I've been playing it a lot. I wouldn't put this many hours into the game if I didn't enjoy it. The thing is, what I guess I'm getting at is, as I'm getting older, I'm becoming more patient, I guess, and giving things more of a try. I'm trying to be more open when I'm playing stuff instead of immediately burning it to the ground in disgust when I see things that are going in a completely different direction of what a series is. And that a lot of that comes from just passion for the franchise. I love the God of War games. 1 through 3 were great games. I can't express that enough. It's almost like when you talk about the BioShock series. Of course, BioShock and God of War are not the same at all, but they're both great series in their own ways. Now, when it comes to this new God of War, um, there are things that I really like about it, and there's things I really don't like. And when before me 2 years ago when this game came out, I was more in the ballpark of just completely hating it because it was 100% different from anything I had ever known before with God of War, and me having my own ideas of why it doesn't make sense with this character and doesn't make sense with this game franchise, and just thinking that they were playing to like a low common denominator to capitalize on the Marvel movies where the story went. Um, I mean, that was how I felt back then. I still kind of feel that way now, but the thing that's keeping me the most interested in the game right now is seeing more and more that the Greek pantheon is still haunting Kratos, and there's more going on still with Zeus than there's led to believe. So that's what's driving me right now. I haven't finished the game, but so far that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm at. The next thing I want to talk about is my thoughts on Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 2, the remake, was really good. I enjoyed it. I played through it 4 times, and by the fourth time, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Resident Evil 3. I loved Resident Evil 3 as a kid, but I mean Resident Evil 2 was where I started. That's the game where it's still in the top like 3 survival horror games ever made for me. Resident Evil 3, out of my favorite games as far as the Resident Evil franchise, is probably on number 5 spot. It was the one that I liked to play, but it was the one that I played the least, which is weird to say. Code Veronica is the one where I really enjoyed playing even more than Resident Evil 3. But seeing that that Capcom is going in this direction where they're revamping all these games and they're going to bring them back makes me extremely excited. I'm glad they're doing it. I was hoping that they weren't going to stop with Resident Evil 2 and just never touch the series again and go on to make Resident Evil 8. That's what I was kind of worried was going to happen. They were going to make all this money from the Resident Evil 2 remake and wait till they kind of degraded the series again with all these crappy Resident Evil games, and then bring back Resident Evil 3 when they needed money again. But I'm glad that's not what they did. Resident Evil 3 looks great from the trailers I've seen so far and the gameplay trailers. Nemesis look, the way he looks in it looks a bit strange. I don't know why they would change the facial model for the Nemesis. I mean, I liked the way he looked. When you look at Mr. X from Resident Evil 2 to Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 Remake, he looks pretty much the same. Nemesis's face, though, looks pretty strange. Jill looks fine to me. I don't know why everyone's freaking out about the way she looks. But the reason why I'm so happy about this is because of course I'm excited to play the game, but I'm more excited knowing that they're going to most likely do a complete remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica. That's why I'm really excited. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is going to be very interesting. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more action oriented and hopefully a lot scarier than the Resident Evil 2 remake. But those are just my quick thoughts. I'm really happy to see that Capcom is not going to degrade the series and keep making crappy Resident Evil games, and they're just doing right now what the fans want. They're listening to the fans. Capcom was I was very worried about them a couple years ago, thinking that they were going to go down the same route as Konami and just stop giving a shit and making whatever they wanted, and no matter how bad it was going to be, they were going to pump it out like on Resident Evil Umbrella Corps. That was just a dumpster fire in itself. but they're not doing that, and I'm happy to see that. Last but not least on the podcast today, I'm going to talk about my recent GameStop experience and compare it to my most recent flea market experience. And I think you're going to be quite surprised. If any of you follow me on YouTube or have been following me since 2013, I've kind of had a long history when it comes to GameStop. I stopped making GameStop videos altogether because I stopped shopping there because of how shitty they were for the longest time. My GameStop rant videos were like some of the most viewed things on the channel. My original channel in 2013 or 2014, whenever I made that video originally, I mean, that video was at over 100,000 views at one point before the channel was deleted. So, I mean, that was like a huge, huge thing that people loved in my original channel. The reason why they never got more of those kind of videos is because I stopped shopping at GameStop after that experience. I wasn't one of those people that kept going there for a bad experience so I could capitalize on the popularity of making GameStop rant videos. That was not my intention. It was just me pointing out a really bad experience I had at GameStop. And I haven't been to a GameStop in, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years at this point. And I did go for Christmas shopping. I was looking for something for my brother-in-law while I was there, and I was shocked because I'm not going to say we all do, but if you did not know, GameStop has a retro gaming program. I don't know how well it's been doing online. I know for a while it was failing, it was tanking because they were accepting reproduction games, which is a huge no-no, and selling them back out to people as if they were the real deal, which is huge controversy back in the time. But I go into GameStop and I'm shocked to see there's a kiosk there that has retro games. It has Nintendo 64 games, it had Super Nintendo games, it had Game Boy games. It even had a couple NES games. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, whoa. I walked up to it and the prices weren't half bad at all. And if I had like a bunch of store credit or something at that place, I could easily get some of those games like Turtles in Time for like $30 if I wanted to. If I didn't have it complete in box, which I do. But I mean, I was shocked. Now, compared that to the flea market, where a couple years ago or a year ago when I went, I was very happy because the flea market's prices had gone down finally to what flea market prices for games should be. And I went most recently 2 months ago, and they're back up above eBay for some reason again. And no one wants to talk to you about getting a discount on a game or buying in bulk and getting less. No one gives a shit. They all think that you're out to scam them when really they're out to fuck someone new getting into the hobby. It's shitty, and it's shocking, to be honest, how you can go to GameStop of all places now and get better deals on retro video games than you can get going to the fucking flea market. GameStop stopped selling games of that nature, retro games, if you want to say, PS2 games, PlayStation 1 games, Super Nintendo games. They stopped selling that stuff years ago. The last time I remember seeing PS2 games in GameStop was probably late 2011 or early 2012 was the last time I can remember seeing PlayStation 2, and that was like the oldest it went back to in GameStops. Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo stuff, that was in the mid 2000s when they stopped carrying all of that. So to see this stuff in GameStop now, I will be going more often to GameStop, surprisingly, just to see if they have anything retro video game wise that I want. Our local record store that is in Sacramento, California, shut down at the end of summer. And now there are so very many places to look for games that you just can get them where you find them at this point. unless you want to just buy stuff on eBay, which I will do here and there when I really want something, but it's just not as fun to go out and hunt for games. There's just a thrill to the hunt, and sadly, as we become more of a digital age and people want less physical media items, our stores that carry physical media objects die out. And that goes with thrift stores, it goes with record stores, it's just toy stores. I mean, all these stores are gone now when I think about it. I mean, our record store is gone, Blockbuster's gone, Hollywood Video is gone, Toys R Us is gone, KB Toys is gone. Really, the only things that are left standing as far as physical media stores go is, yeah, there's GameStop still, which who knows how long they actually have left. And because I mean, think about it, all games are going digital now. So I mean, who knows how much longer we have until the only thing that's left is flea markets, and then who knows how long flea markets will have left. I don't know. But yeah, that was my experience in GameStop in 2019 compared to my flea market experience in 2019. I'm hoping that the flea market gets better, but for some reason it just doesn't. It's once in a blue moon when I go there and something's actually improved, sadly. So I guess kudos to GameStop for once, for actually not price gouging the shit out of people, and having actual good stuff there at the store instead of freaking used phones for people to buy shit. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Retro or Die podcast, first episode in 2020. I know it's probably a little rusty. I sound a little rusty and a little bit preachy when it comes to God of War, but hey, it's stuff I'm passionate about, and I thank you guys for listening or watching wherever this is posted, and I look forward to talking to you in the next episode, and also bring you the new news about the other podcasts that I'll be doing. That's a lot broader in subjects, but until then, this is Forrest. Thank you for listening and watching, and I already said that already, so have a good day.